So now that we've established the opening and kind of gotten O-ruled into present day, we're going to skip ahead a little bit to her childhood. And so, some of the parts that we're not watching are very key to the story, but just to kind of set everybody up, we're moving past kind of the initial trauma of Trom, is how I like to call it.
Yes.
And he's married the new queen. She has passed away. Psyche has now been born, who is O-Rule's half-sister. And then Redival is O-Rule's younger sister. She is Trom's daughter as well. So we've got 3 girls, and then the fox. And the fox is played by Ford Tackett. And you'll see him, he's in kind of a reddish-brown costume.
Yeah, it's great.
What are those hand motifs we were talking about? The royalty.
I was going to ask about this.
Oh, perfect. We're on the same page. I love it. They do this a lot.
Yes, this I noticed.
Yeah, and so this actually signifies their obsession with beauty. So we created this because it draws your attention up to the face.
Yes.
And so they do it a lot because in Glome, the obsession with beauty, right, is a very big part of the story. Both the obsession with Psyche's kind of otherworldly beauty, and Redival is considered to be very beautiful as well.
Yes.
Maybe not as beautiful as Psyche, but 2 of the daughters are stunningly beautiful. And then O-Rule is seen as
ugly.
Very ugly, which is part of the mask, which we'll get into later.
Yes, okay.
So right here, I just want to establish, and I know we saw it in the beginning, but I want to establish Gray Mountain God, who is kind of our man in black in the shadows.
Yep.
And you see Psyche kind of looking back toward the mountain. Can you tell us a little bit from Till We Have Faces about Psyche's relationship to Gray Mountain God before she actually meets him?
Yes. So Psyche's, a rule tells us, she quotes Psyche and says that Psyche, when she was a little girl, she always looked ahead and said, when I grow up, I want to marry a king and I want to have a palace. And she's always looking past Glome and past the worship of Ungit. And she has a sense of wonder and beauty and love that she feels like is coming from the Gray Mountain. And so I didn't notice here, but that she is even looking at him, foreshadowing that she will ultimately be sacrificed to the god of the Gray Mountain.
Absolutely. And for those that know the Greek myth, the Gray Mountain God is the same thing as Cupid.
So the 3 sisters, and it's clear to me with the braids that Psyche is that one with the braids. What is the fox doing right now? I mean, how is what he's dancing? Does it reflect his being the quote grandfather and teaching the girls?
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. So, the movement that they're creating is all being originated by the fox. So in this whole sequence, anytime they change steps, he'll do it first, and then the girls always follow and copy. And then he kind of leads them throughout the sequence.
Yes.
Which has been kind of a fun way to show that he's teaching them. And then you'll see him actually have like one-on-one time with each of the girls.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, and developing them. And we'll see this in just a second, but if we want to watch for it, there's a cool hand motion that Trom does where he kind of does this over and this fist,
okay.
which is his kind of crest, if you will. It's Trom's opening statement of power. And we see O'Rule repeating that and kind of going, I'm the next in line to the throne. I'm going to emulate my father. And the fox takes the hand motion and he actually blooms it into like a little flower. And he goes, yes, you have to have the strength to rule, but I want you to be different.
Oh, interesting.
So there's lots of little moments, like that, you know, if you watch closely, and there is a lot going on, but if you watch each little dialogue, there's like little nuggets that you may not understand the full text of it. And with ballet, I want our audience to know that that's okay, but you can kind of feel the difference that the fox brings with the movement.
Okay, that's great. I just love Redival. She did such a good job. Her dance, her motions, her feeling left out, her being kind of rebellious, and just her character was I thoroughly enjoyed watching her, and not only her hand motions but her feet. She would do that flat, straight. I don't even know how to describe it, but she came across. She was one of my favorites.
Thank you so much. I totally agree. Valerie Linsner played Redival, and she's a brilliant artist. You know, she's been with the company a long time, and she's very expressive. And I think her ability to bring across a really complicated character was so simple. It almost looked natural, like she just woke up that way. So big credit to Valerie, because she's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, pause. I mean, Redival is, I feel sorry for her mostly toward the end, when I realize when someone tells O'Rule that Redival was lonely and she was left out, but she does such a great job of with all her whole body. And I'm curious. So here, Psyche and Redival are both doing, and you have the ballet dancers do this a lot throughout the ballet, but they spread out their legs, you know, like they're like heading toward a split is how I look at it.
Absolutely. No, that's a good catch. So we were trying to figure out ways to show that they were listening in.
Okay.
And so this leg motion that you caught onto, which kudos to you for that, they kind of shimmy their foot, and it gets longer and longer.
Yes.
And so, you know, I can't get up and move in here, but it would be kind of like if you were talking to somebody over there and I was to go and lean in to listen.
Okay.
So there's some fun moments like that where we played around in the studio. What does it feel like to eavesdrop? You know? And how can we take that and make it into a dance?
Yes. Yeah, that's great. Okay, pause. So we're heading into the mines, and Yeah, I suspect a lot of people really enjoyed this. How did you come up with the music for it, or because I think you have different parts of music or sounds.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for me, like one of the fun parts, I guess, like about having a company where I get to do a lot of the creative part of the process,
Yeah.
is that I have a lot of freedom to create a world out of sound. And that's something that I love. One of the parts of my process as a choreographer is once I get the dance to look the way that I want it to, I actually custom fit all the music to the dance. And so there's like a very big process of editing the music. And one of that parts is layering in sound effects.
Yes.
So in the last part, you heard kind of those heavy footsteps of Trom, as he sends Taryn to the mines. Then in the mines, you hear a lot of like industrial sounds in the background. And at one point, there's like a drilling sound that you can hear and a pickaxe that comes in. And I think because those are such human sounds, it's like you don't have to know ballet to know, oh, pickaxe, we're in the dark, there's shafts of light. Your brain puts it together, right?
Right.
Like, oh, okay, we're in the mines. And so I think the more that we can do that with the whole stage and not just the dance, but the sound and the lights and the music.
Oh, yeah.
Right, the easier it is for the audience to just kind of enjoy the story, and they're not having to wonder quite as much where they're at.
Right. So you created the dance first, and then you put the music to it, or the sounds.
Yeah. Great question. So the music, I would say, is kind of in tandem with the dance, the actual music, like the song part of it, if you will. But then all the transitions and like the wind that will come in and the birds and the pickaxes, all of that kind of gets layered in during the process to help transition us from one part of the world to the other.
Okay. Okay, pause. So I have a couple questions. This is such a great dance, and those headlamps are just perfect in the dark. So it sort of makes them look like, sometimes like worms, or, is that intentional?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
So when we made it, and the dancers, they're so great. They'll kind of just like go for anything. We were trying to think about what it would be like to crawl through those mine shafts.
Oh, okay.
And on stage, of course, you have unlimited space, right? It's this big open room.
Right.
But we tried to actually limit ourselves from using that so that you would get a sense of us like shimmying through the earth. And then some sections we've like arrived in a big open cavern, and then there's space. And sometimes we're like jumping from like, maybe this path on the mine, but there's part of a bridge is out, so you'll see them leap across. And it's all just fun and imaginative. But we set up a whole like mine in the studio, and we actually marked out like, this is going to be a hole, this is going to be a part where we shimmy through a mine shaft. And we had a very literal world set up to kind of create that sense.
That's very cool. And I have another question, and that is in I think one of the talkbacks or something, Ansit is in here.
Yeah.
So Ansit is Bardia's wife, and I was curious why she's kind of the leader of the miners, because she's not a miner.
Yeah, such a great question. So, as you know, for the sake of kind of making the story cohesive, sometimes when you translate from a book where you can give a lot of detail to a movie or a ballet where you can give a lot less detail, you kind of combine things in order to make it make sense.
Okay.
So for this world, in the book, Until We Have Faces, there is the peasants, which kind of live in the village.
Yes.
The common people, if you will. And then there is the mines, which is kind of a punishment for people who displease Trom. And like, he's always threatening to throw people in there. So for the purpose of our show, we combined the peasants with the miners. So we made it so that the common people are all miners.
Got it.
And that was just to give us one less world to have to explain and just make it logical for the audience.
Okay.
So within that, then Ansit got moved from being kind of Bardia. She's still Bardia's wife, but instead of being just Bardia's wife and one of the common folk, because everybody's in the mines, she ends up in the mines. And then we tried to decide, why would she be able to marry the captain of the guard? So then we had to kind of elevate her to being almost like a foreman because it's such a hierarchical society. And the dancers are great. They come up with a lot of this. They're like, well, if that happens, you know, it only makes sense if this happens. And they'll all kind of advocate for their character. So we ended up with Bardia needing to marry a woman of, you know, a little bit of status, but she couldn't be equal to his status because that's in the book that he fell in love with her. She was so beautiful. He married somebody beneath his status. So we tried to kind of find a fun line between the two, and then it gives her some great high value dance moments to be the leader of this tribe.
Yes, that's great.